ladies and gentlemen, as a geyser in yellow, a fountain into the blue, so today I stand in your midst to expand a great fountain of cosmic light, towering up into the atmosphere and making mankind aware of the need for light and the power of light and the power of perfection. Today, as never before, in any age past, the earth stands at the threshold of a great potential. The potential of this planet at this auspicious moment is very great. You, ladies and gentlemen, are a part of the avant-garde of the children of light. Your responsibility today to the unfailing light of God is to sustain and keep alive among mankind a focus of light until such a time as the ascended Master's light, like a prairie fire, can sweep across human consciousness and set the entire earth aflame with the love of God. You have made calls to God. You have requested an opportunity to serve the light. Today, this opportunity is being fulfilled as never before. The hour of peril to all mankind is more intense than in any previous era, and yet the opportunity to bring forth the golden age into full manifestation and beauty is greater than ever before. It is true that the risk is very great, but because of the intense risk, the prize is also very great, and therefore mankind do well to fan the fires of hope by united action, to call to the light for more and more light. I am ray, O light. I am ray, O light. I am a manifestation of the radiance of God, of the sacred fire. My function is to bring to mankind shadowed consciousness greater awareness of the divinity that exists in all life. You have desired, ladies and gentlemen, in your secret heart, to find the fountain of youth. You desire to remain physically young. And there are some among you who feel somewhat disheartened as, gazing upon your faces in a mirror, you feel that you no longer retain that look which once you had. Know that in your own mighty I Am presence, you are eternally youthful, eternally filled with beauty and perfection and every God quality. Then, if you would retain that in your physical form, you have but to call into manifestation that which is already manifesting above you, that as above, so below may become a manifestation of truth, and then the falsehood which your mirror declares unto you will be completely abrogated and made nothing by reason of the great cosmic mirror of life, which will reveal to you the eternal youth and beauty which is your own. I am sure you must realize, each and every one of you, that God is no respecter of man's person, but created all life to share the bounties of his cosmic abundance. You are coming into the fall season in this hemisphere, and therefore I point out to you that the harvest is indeed nigh at hand, and the spiritual harvest is at the very door. By light, mankind will be able to salvage out of the apparent chaos and shadow a remnant for God and a remnant for the very soul that abides within their physical form. Your soul is immortal. It is the voice of immortality as it puts on the immortality of your God-presence I am. But if the soul that is within you will continue to hearken to the voices of human discourse and the appearance world, ladies and gentlemen, and thus mirror imperfection, it will, so to speak, in the words of the Scriptures, be dying a little each day. For the Scriptures have declared that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. And this is but an absence of the divine manifestation. And because of the disconnection of mankind from his true source, there comes into manifestation a fading of the divine image, a shriveling and a shrinking of all of the beauty which is quite natural to come into manifestation, and mankind manifest wrinkles and a change in their physical form, which can, by the power of light, be erased. We have known any number of people who are followers of the cosmic light, who by applying to their countenance the law of the Lord, taking delight in the law of God, their mighty I am presence, have found a greater effect than from any outward cosmetic. This, ladies and gentlemen, is then the true fountain of youth. This is something for which mankind would give their life and their all, and yet, while declaring and voicing the fact that they will give their life and their all, they continue to walk in shadow, in discord, in hatred, and in unhappiness. This seems to be a great contradiction, and it is. Therefore I, Reo Light, in the name of God, and by the Spirit and power of the Great White Brotherhood, am blazing forth today a transcendent manifestation of the cosmic light in this place. This light I am intensifying step by step in order that you may feel taking place within your physical form a change in the cells and atoms of your body, so that you who have dedicated yourself to light and light's perfection will learn inwardly the secret of how to draw greater energy from light, so that you may extend the period of your life upon this earth in accordance with your desire to serve the ascended masters and to serve the unfailing light of God. I think this is wholly just, for it has the approval of the great karmic board, who have long recognized that there is some justice to the statement that the good have often died young, whereas the wicked seem to have lived to a ripe old age. And therefore certainly this is not exactly true. And yet because mankind seem to believe that it is so, it has in many cases happened. However, all of these events were adjustments which took place by reason of the great karmic board's judgment, for they have the power to read the aura of every life stream back unto the very beginning and first manifestation of that life stream in form and matter, and therefore their judgment is just and is never in error. And yet today the great cosmic light and cosmic law responds to the students of this light to assure them that if they with all their heart shall serve this light and desire to extend the period of their life and their life service, then those individuals may seek, by applying to their own presence, to have their allotted time upon this planet expanded. And we have been assured that that will be done according to their request and according to their degree of service and sincerity to the light. Let no one think that they can deceive or fool the great cosmic law, for the law is absolutely accurate. And this is a boon to you, beloved students of the light. I am so happy today to be able to bring you this message, this instruction, this boon from heaven, this manifestation of the truth about you, that God is just. You have heard it said that the mills of the gods grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly small. And I am sure you will rest happily in this knowledge, that those who serve the light with all their heart shall find in truth that the light shall return to serve them. And peace and love shall manifest abundantly in their hearts, and they shall shake off the lethargy of human ideas. I, ray of light, am now calling to the great cosmic host and to beloved mighty Australia to cause spiritually within this room and the atmosphere of this room and within the consciousness of those who hear my words a great release from all thought forms which mankind have either knowingly or unknowingly held within their consciousness and retained, which did not express the full purity of God or the full idea of man's immortal perfection. I am asking that those thought forms now be released into the universal light for transmutation. Intensify, intensify, intensify the great cosmic light. Step up, step up, step up the great cosmic light. Intensify, intensify, intensify. In the name of God, the mighty I Am present, I call the beloved Alpha and Omega in the great central sun, even I, ray o light, for a manifestation of enough cosmic light to sweep the auras of these individuals free from every discordant thought form, known or unknown, cause and effect, record and memory before it can act or further encroach upon the perfection of life. I am calling for this to be done now, according to the great cosmic law, that all those that are here, or who read these words in print and accept them with full faith, may find a great release in their feelings, a burden dropping off, as it were, of their back, and a feeling that they may throw their shoulders back and exclaim, truly my burden is light. Let them acknowledge now then the perfection of their God presence, the perfection of life's immortality within them, the purity of their life stream coming into the fullness of manifestation according to the law of the sacred fire. Never, never, never let them again accept such a weight of burden as has been upon the backs of some of these people, and let them now go forth with the tread of a mighty conqueror, lords of life. Let them feel the pulsation of the lords of the flame from Venus flowing into them and renewing every cell and atom of their being and changing their aspect toward life, that they may recognize life as it expresses in growing things of the forest and field, that they may know that the stem of the tender plant draws its nourishment from the earth and opens up the pores of its very skin to drink in the light of the sun. So let all learn to drink in the great cosmic light of God, poured unto all his creation every day through the mighty cosmic rays. But let mankind learn to open up their consciousness and drink in this power of the sun behind the sun, that the rays of light manifesting from God, from their own presence, may purify and deify and exalt and heal and seal and encompass them round about with such an aura of transcendent love as never before has come into manifestation in their world, that they may know that God, their own mighty I Am presence, is the victory of all eternity manifest within their beating heart and sustaining their life, and teaching them the law of love, that by loving one another they are in truth loving Thee. Thou infinite God, presence I am. Come, 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 thou cosmic Christ. Manifest thy fullness here now. Take dominion over these minds and hearts, and rule all things by the power of thy mighty rod. Magnetize out of pure ascended master light substance until there is no longer any power given to any lesser image or any lesser image than the perfection of God. Let this now be made manifest, eternally sustained, and all powerfully active until victory comes to every one upon this blessed planet in blazing bodies of light sustained for all eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
And greetings to you in the name of the infinite, all-pervading Spirit of God. From the heart of our temple of goodwill here in Darjeeling, I am speaking to you and breathing out an infinite sense of the will of God. Among you are some who have gazed upon the sea, and in gazing upon the sea, you have observed a crest of light upon the waves. This crest of light, composed of the spiritual fragmentation of divine energies pouring from the sun, or reflected by the moon, as the case may be, but composed of light. I would like to bring to your consciousness this night a sense that you are also projected forth from the great central sun, fragments of divine substance, fragments containing within them the seeds of the will of God. Sacred then to the Father are you, and as you envision yourselves as made in His image, you are able to obtain and retain that divine sense which will enable you to walk the earth as God. Each of you were called, as was the Christ known to you as Jesus, to be sons and daughters of the Most High God. The spirit of the great white brotherhood is abroad throughout the earth tonight as the spirit of the cosmic Christ, to enfold mankind in an image of themselves, of their spiritual selves we come, that men may obtain the inheritance of the elect, that they may wear those robes that are white, that are pure, that are sacred, for which cause they came into the world, and for which cause they obtained the divine energy of God, and that eternal substance which gave them and does give to all a sense of being and beingness. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not your own. You are composed of the sacred Eucharist of God. You are the great leaven of the Christ. You are a manifestation of his perfection. You are called in this hour to a realization of the will of God made manifest in every atom and cell of your being. To manifest the power of God is to blaze forth light. To blaze forth light is to give no dominion whatsoever to that which is less than the perfection of your own immortality. I am a blazing being of light, and yet today, while I am speaking to you, I am simultaneously able to appear in the home of a peasant child who is ill in India, not far from Darjeeling. And I am appearing in this home in the physical form, and yet to them I seem but an enrobed ascetic. For while I am speaking to you simultaneously, I am removing the scars of a leprosy from the body of this child that is before me. And a perfect healing is being performed, and yet the people who are witnessing this are considering me to be but a wandering mendicant. They consider me to be but one of many of those unascended masters that wander about through the land of India. They do not know that I am an ascended being, and that shortly after I walk outside the doors and portals of this home, my body will dissolve into pure ascended master light, and my form, which seems so solid now, will not even seem to be. And yet simultaneously, while I am doing this act of mercy in the name of God, I am projecting the mighty light rays from Darjeeling unto the continent of North America, to this city close to New York, where so many teeming millions of light streams are manifesting, and I am intensifying the spirit of liberty, which is God. As it has been recorded, now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. I am intensifying tonight, therefore, the spirit of liberty to do the will of God, cutting mankind free from the idea that the will of man is superior to the will of God, because mankind have given substance and energy to their own wills for a long period of time, and have generated thereby a momentum, in much the same manner as a spiral of smoke rising up. But when the power of the infinite grace of God rushes in like a mighty rushing wind, it dissipates this column of smoke, which is merely human will, and it brings in the transcendent power and the light of God, which does not and cannot fail, and all human will evaporates before the divine manifestation of the will of God. This is in accordance with the divine law of being, which is the same in India as in America, which is the same in China as in Peru, which is the same in the Inca Empire as in the Empire of America, which is the same law which manifested upon Atlantis and upon Lemuria and in the days of old, and also which is the self-same law which manifests upon other planets and systems of worlds, upon beloved Hesper, from whence came Sanat Kumara long ago, known to you as the planet Venus, or upon other systems of worlds and stars not even known to your astronomers. Blessed and beloved ones, the beauty of the will of God is in its unfolding expression, its outreach everywhere, and yet it is being made manifest, always being made manifest. This is in sidereal time. It is in mankind's consciousness, in the consciousness of man, which gradually assimilates the divine nourishment and gradually emerges from the mortal image of a small and tiny child unto the immortal image of a man-child, a living Christ, a transcendent, immortal being, no longer wearing the swaddling garments of mortality and mere human fecundity, but manifesting the propensities of heaven, the beauty, the wisdom, the love, and the compassion of God. All this I am, but all this is implanted within your hearts and within the hearts of all mankind as a diamond surrounded by coal, surrounded by carbons. The precious treasure must be mined from the heart of the earth and then polished by the jeweler's craft until by the cut and by the power of discrimination mankind learn to polish the diamond brilliance of the will of God. And there emerges into manifestation a beautiful jewel of a life's perfection, of a Christ, a Buddha, a shining orb to appear upon the surface of the earth and to spread the light upon the sea of humanity, the crest upon the waves, the shining garments of immortality, and all the beauty that cannot be bedimmed by human tears or human thought. All of this comes into manifestation because of belief, faith, love, and the power of love in action. The will of God is thus ever present, never still, constantly moving, progressing man minute by minute into all the glory of eternity, the never-ceasing reverberations of the cosmic voice, which originally reached forth into the void and sounded forth the word, "Let there be light." And there was light. "Let there be love." And there was love. "Let there be wisdom." And there was wisdom. The triune omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence of God, all sealed in the triangle of perfection within the sacred circle of the will of God, the hallowed precinct of divinity, within which are all things and without which nothing exists. In the name of God, in the name of the Great White Brotherhood, by the power of the sacred fire, I, Morya El, Lord of Love's first ray, speaking from the Darjeeling Council, for I have now returned here to the council table, and as I stand before the council table, seeing before me the record of mankind's frightful misuse of energy, and knowing that the time is short for this civilization, I urge again the intensification by mortal consciousness of invoking and submitting the supreme fiat of the will of God as ruler over all human mandates. I ask you and urge you in God's name, give your allegiance to God, your own mighty I Am presence. Give your unshakable faith to the masters of wisdom, and externalize in this land and throughout the earth the great kingdom of God, the immortal kingdom of love, wherein the constitutions and the mandates of man, the Magna Cartas of man, become the charters of divinity. As Columbus charted his course across an unknown sea, so all mankind by faith today, in my word, which is not mine but the word of God, shall accept the gift of God, and under the aegis of the Father, under the crown of life, shall externalize among the family of nations a perfect world, a utopia, the paradise of God among men. And then upon this mansion, which is but one of my Father's mansions and your Father's mansions, the will of God will be done, and brother shall no longer hate brother, but love shall permeate all life, and the animals themselves shall no longer express the ferocity of man, but the will of God shall be done everywhere. And then untrammeled through the great continents of the air shall come the mighty rushing wind of the Holy Spirit to crown this civilization with all that science alone could not give, with all that education alone could not give, and with all that human romance alone could not give. The Father's love manifest as the Father's will. With this sacred vibration, in the name of the Council of Light, I, Morya of the Darjeeling Council, say to you all in the name of Christ, peace, peace profound.
Gracious ladies, most holy gentlemen, children of infinite peace, I greet you today in an inner consciousness of an action of the cosmic light which, flowing through the natural manifestations present in nature as a budding or as an unfolding rose, such as you have before you on the table, expresses to mankind the seasons of life. I remind you of the passages of Scripture which are recorded for your admonishment, directing you that there ought to be a time for sowing, a time for cultivating, a time of awaiting and a time of harvest. The infinite Father has given to mankind the bounties of heaven in a natural order and progression. Your own life is a sowing of the divine energy. This energy was given forth to you. It represents a divine capacity and a divine talent. You call me Saint Germain, holy brother, and I call you brother and sister in a recognition of your oneness with the divine light. Alas, I cannot clasp to myself those waxen figures of mortal corruption, those figures which mankind have perverted, those figures which are not representative of our light. The human personality and the human creation I truly call not brother, neither do I call it sister, for this in itself does not reflect the divine image, and you yourselves, as you attain to the same status which I occupy, will repudiate and leave behind the outworn garments of your mortality. You will joyously seek to put off those garments. It will be no sacrifice for you to relinquish your hold upon them, for you will see the Christ, the light of God, as that light really is, shining in its strength. There are among you and among the students of the light throughout the world innumerable individuals who desire to see a manifestation of my presence. These have often called for me to step through the veil and manifest tangibly to them. I ask you if you are aware of what you ask. Truly you know not what you ask. The shock to your vehicles, unless they stand in God perfection, would be considerable, and the benefit questionable. And yet I stand ready today to manifest myself to you tangibly, and to step through the veil into visible manifestation, when you are ready to recognize the portals of heaven as of greater importance than all the affairs of mankind. When you are ready to dedicate your energies to the purposes for which they were given to you of God, and to feel no sense of sacrifice, no sense of oppression. I desire today to speak quite plainly and quite simply to you. I desire to speak somewhat concerning religious worship. I am well aware, as are other members of the Great White Brotherhood, the reluctance with which individuals often go to church to worship, and how they feel a sense of duty and responsibility to the deity. They feel also a sense of moral obligation to society, that it is the correct and the polite thing to do to attend church services and to worship God. This is an error on the part of mankind. The worship of God is actually the fulfillment of the law of the circle. The Father has bestowed life upon you, and unless you shall acknowledge with gratitude this life, the circle is not completed, and you actually are cutting yourself off from spiritual nourishment. And those who cut themselves off from spiritual nourishment theoretically would sooner or later perish. Therefore the attending of religious services and the adoration to God and the adoration to the presence, if it is practiced correctly, is intended to sustain the immortality of men and to assure them of greater bodily health, greater mental health, and greater spiritual vitality. It ought to be no sacrifice when the law is correctly understood. It is an opportunity, and one which when mankind recognize properly, they desire to do in the same manner that they feel the need to satisfy their hungers physically. Almost 3 times a day without fail, those living in nations where enough abundance is provided sit down to meat and to eat at their tables, as you have done this morning. This is to feed the hungers of the outer self, and theoretically to provide the energies you will need to use your form throughout the day and to conduct your affairs in a proper manner. Spiritual nourishment is more important even than physical nourishment, for without the immortal life stream within you, the threefold flame pulsating within, your physical form would cease to function. And therefore you ought to rejoice in the opportunity which each occasion of coming together to worship provides. And you ought to recognize that it is the positive and negative polarities meeting. And as these polarities meet, there is an exchange whereby life flows in greater abundance. The Christ long ago declared on the Judean hillsides, "I am come that men might have life, and that life more abundantly." The more abundant life is given by God. Life is God. It cannot be sustained, ladies and gentlemen, by merely thought on the part of human creation. Jesus uttered these words also, saying that which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature? And therefore it is understandable that human thought and human desires cannot in themselves cause you to have life. Life is God, and therefore can only be secured from the source. And the source of one is the source of all. All must drink of the same fount, the waters of life, which God bestows upon mankind, and which when they take the cup in hand and drink, they shall drink of and never thirst again, is the spiritual life of God. Those who partake of the physical cup continue to thirst again and again, and they are not satisfied. Those who drink the spiritual energies are partaking of that which completely satisfies. And yet no angel, no deva, no builder of form, no ascended master, no cosmic being, all the way back to the heart of the sun of this system, Helios and Vesta, or Alpha and Omega in the great central sun, would ever cut themselves off as communicants of the eternal spiritual energies of the All-Father. Therefore I say to you, seeing that although we ourselves recognize all the spiritual laws and do not cut ourselves off, but daily drink of the spiritual drink and daily partake of the spiritual manna, would it not be the wisest thing then on the part of all the students to recognize the need to continually communicate with their own source and being? Some seem to feel that because we are ascended, we could cut ourselves off as though we were individuals separate and apart from God. We have merged ourselves with our source, and we are in constant unity with it. And it is the most comfortable feeling, ladies and gentlemen, in creation. Those of you who truly desire comfort would find in the comfort flame and in the freedom flame and in all the flames of God such joy, such peace, such an uplift and upsurge, that were you for a moment to enter our octave and then return to yours, I fear that there are few of you who would desire to remain long in the octave of earth. And yet it is necessary that you do so, for you have before you today many tasks which I am hopeful you will summon the energies to perform. The world order of things, as Morya has told you, stands in supreme peril. When I use the term supreme, I do not mean divine, but I refer here to the sense that it is perhaps the greatest peril that has ever faced the world. The reason for this is that the powers of transportation and communication are developed now through the material and mundane sciences to where mankind are able to level destruction upon almost every inch of this planet on a few moments' notice. And therefore, because of the human temperament and the ego of mankind, there is great danger that someone somewhere may unleash a hideous holocaust upon the earth, which even we from our octave would be powerless to stop for various reasons connected with the free will of mankind. And therefore the responsibility falls directly upon the student body and those who have understanding of these laws for the calling forth of the energies and the walls of light that shall protect those constructive nations of the earth from those conditions which would mean their destruction. I therefore today ask the directors of this conference in Canada, and I ask the directors of our constructive activities everywhere to make and create, by attunement with our octave, a series of decrees which shall cause great walls of cosmic light to be builded around the constructive nations of the earth, around their homes, their governments, their armies, and all of their constructive endeavors, communication, transportation, hospitalization, and all things connected with the welfare of mankind. I ask and I urge that these walls of light be constantly fed daily by the student body of this activity. And I ask that these walls of light be called forth continually and maintained until this peril shall have passed from the earth. There is a specific reason why it is necessary that the quality of human radiation and human energy shall be poured forth so that we may transmute that energy into ascended master light substance and construct for mankind those walls of light which they in themselves could never construct, but which by working and cooperating with heaven can be builded to protect the free world against the forces of communism and the forces of atheism and the forces of destruction which have run rampant across the face of the earth until the peril is multiplied as never before. Truly, when men play with this type of fire, someone is very apt to get burned, and I hope that the mankind of earth shall have learned a lesson, that if this peril be mitigated and pass from the earth, they will then build a God society where freedom can stand and where the bulwarks of freedom will be so strengthened by the leaders of government and commerce and those individuals who have to do with the building of human consciousness through opinions, such as those who control the press, the radio, the television, and the mass media of communication, that mankind will begin to accept the divine education of the golden age, and that the power of the torch of liberty and freedom can be safely passed to mankind, knowing that they will use it to walk the earth as gods, and not to parade before one another their petty fancies and vain desires to glorify the ego and satiate the mere physical desires of their human form. If this is done, I am sure that an age of culture and enlightenment shall come to this earth such as has never before been known, and then in that golden age we of the Ascended Master Octave will be able to step forth and reveal to mankind all the hidden laws of nature and science, which shall make of this earth not a place of drudgery, but a place where peace shall reign and be felt tangibly, even as I am projecting peace into this room this day. And you will come to know that the Christ is the reality of your life, and you will come to know that the presence of God has love for every atom of creation, and desires that a spirit of divine harmonium shall function in each atom, so that the hum of life shall pour forth its divine radiance through each atom, and in this harmonium, in this hum of life, all shall move forward into its divine destiny. Universe without end, atoms and stars being blended together in perfect peace, You have heard it said that heaven is where the heart is. And truly, I say to you that the heart of man ought to be in heaven, and to draw heaven into the heart, that wherever man is, he may come to realize is his home, his heaven, his peace, that men may learn to create this consciously, and to avoid discord as they would the plague. When this shall be done, then the earth shall be covered with God's knowledge and wisdom, not merely God's knowledge and wisdom in libraries and writings, but in a functional manner to act through the human consciousness, to stir the human feelings, to complete the action of God among men, until justice and liberty and freedom shall be enshrined in the hearts of men, and nobleness shall rest like a crown upon every woman's brow and upon every man's head. And therefore each man and each woman will be a king and queen in their own household, and the Holy Comforter shall bless each household daily with such perfect harmony and love that heaven and earth will be inseparably one, and heaven will manifest here and now for all to see, for all to enjoy, for all to drink into, and all pain and sorrow shall cease, and the hand of the infinite Holy Comforter shall have wiped away the last tear from human eyes, and then all shall see with their eyes the pure, magnificent countenance of God, and shall love that countenance even as that countenance loves them now. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention to the light. Remember always that it is the only source of wisdom, the only source of power, the only source of love, the light of God. It is your salvation. Abide in it and avoid the shadow, and you shall find peace even as we did. I thank you. I am come. I am victory. I am a manifestation of that God-free perfection which it is the right of every child of earth to manifest. I am the victory from the spheres of Venus perfection brought to this beloved planet tonight in order to seal and seal and seal the hearts of mankind in the divine mantle, in the name of their perfection, the perfection of their God presence, and the eternal flame of the sacred fire. Ladies and gentlemen, won't you please be seated? I am well aware of the desire on the part of the students to retain a youthful appearance in their physical form. I am well aware of the desire of the students to manifest the divine immortality. I am well aware of the yearning of your hearts to express your God victory. I am aware of the feeling that you have seeking from God His gifts and graces which will give you the buoyancy of the angels, a feeling of lightness and happiness and compassion and understanding. I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that this victory, this power, is now pulsating through the atmosphere of this room. The pulsations may not be sensed by all of you. The light rays which I am blazing through this room may not seem tangible to some of you, but as surely as there is illumination here from the electrical devices present in this room and the flame of these candles upon the altar, our radiance is pouring forth through your four lower bodies and blessing and hallowing you with our radiation of cosmic Christ victory. I am not intending tonight to spend a great deal of time in giving you instruction, for I want to tell you tonight that the instruction given you by Paul the Venetian, who spoke to you before I did, is so magnificent that any number of the angelic beings from the cosmos stood around in loving adoration and wonder as they saw the vibratory action from beloved Paul's aura. You see, we are like you in one way. We appreciate a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, learn to appreciate the Christ in one another as it expresses in the various ordered services which transpire here in the world of mortal form, as well as that which occurs above, as above so below. You are truly God's in the becoming, and therefore what is true of you is true of all mankind upon earth. For the victory I bring you tonight is intended by God the Father to be the victory for all who will accept it upon this earth. And we have no bars, we have no gates, we have no prisons to separate man from their victory. For when they desire their victory more than they desire the manifestation of materialism and human ideas, they will have it, and no power on heaven and earth can keep them from it. For the law of God can never be broken. The fiats of God cannot be altered. They remain today, as in ages past, accurate, inviolate, correct, and decipherable by the soul who truly desires to know the truth, that they may be free. The individual who feels the need to shake off the fetters and the lethargy of the human consciousness and enter into the feeling of our victory, of God's victory, of the victory of their presence, of the victory of life, of the victory that surrounds them always, of the victory that is present in every atom of creation, of the victory of the sacred fire, the victory of the sacred host, the victory of your own Christ self, the victory that has been brought forth by the ascended masters, the victory that causes the worlds to turn in space accurately, the victory from the great central sun, the victory of Alpha and Omega brought to every one, the victory of life. Oh, blessed and beloved ones, will you not sense what it means to have your God freedom? Will you not sense what it means to no longer be fettered down? as it were, and bound in the human material flesh form. Realize, however, that you are in this form in order to achieve your victory, and at the moment that victory is fully achieved, no one can keep you from your ascension, or no thing can keep you from it, for the law will act, and your mortal form will take on the appearance of the Christ. Even the garments you wear will drop as they are changed by the light, and you will arise as did the Christ, until the great radiance of God receives you out of the sight of mortal consciousness and mortal mind, and in its place you enter into our abode, the realm of your victory, from whence you too as the Christ shall come at will, to bless, to hallow, to heal mankind, and to inspire future evolutions of this earth as well as other systems of worlds. You know not what you shall be, but when the Christ victory of your life shall appear, you shall be like that Christ victory, for you shall then see it as it is, and it is now before you, if you will but recognize it. And I pray you, ladies and gentlemen, recognize it within, if you do not recognize it without, and accept it. Let there be a pressure of acceptance in your feelings as I speak, that you may have the benefit of my radiance, and that my feeling of God victory may penetrate your auras, penetrate your consciousness, and alter and change your inner feelings, so that you will feel that that which could not be done yesterday can be done today, and that that which you thought could not be done a moment ago can be done tomorrow. Get this feeling of victory and hold it, and pray that it be anchored within your consciousness, and then I think that this meeting shall be well worth your while, for we will then have accomplished for this little group a specific service, and those who shall read these words in print and shall desire to apply this law shall receive the self-same benefit and blessing as you received tonight. For that is the beauty of the expanding light of God, the light of victory, which never, never, never fails. Ladies and gentlemen, the salutation of the lovely Lady Venus be to you tonight, the salutation of beloved Sanat Kumara, the salutation of the Lords of the Flame from Venus, the salutation of the entire Great White Brotherhood, and the peace and Christ victory of God be anchored in your world tonight as never before, until you yourselves are breathing, living, tangible expressions of that victory before the eyes of all mankind, as well as before us who are your friends, your co-workers, your companions in light, and those who love you and love the earth and its evolutions free in the holy name of God. I thank each one of you for your time, your attention, your devotion, and your love. Adore your presence, adore your presence, adore your mighty God Self, the I Am of you, and be then, as we are, receivers of all the benefits of that presence and the full power of your victory made manifest for evermore. I thank you. Good night. We are privileged tonight to have beloved Morya with us to give the benediction himself. O holy will of God, I am in the precious name of light and light's victory invoking the flame of eternal cosmic beauty within the hearts of these thy children and the hearts of all mankind. May the precious Benedictus of light, the abiding light, the stillness of the cosmic light, and the fullness of the cosmic light enfold with cosmic Christ light in the name of the holy will of God the hearts of everyone here, and may they feel the placing of my hands through their physical form and being, and the shielding of their aura from all that is not the will of God. May they retain within the center of their being a appreciation and reverence for the holy name of God, the flame of life that breathes into them hourly the stream of eternal consciousness made manifest. I am invoking then tonight the eternally abiding will, asking that that will abide in the heart and in the mind and in the hand of all who are in truth initiates of the light, and all who are not, may they speedily enter in to a time in their own life stream where they can accept the pressure of that cosmic light and joyously kneel before the holy presence of their great Christ self, acknowledging that the Father, the I Am, is their own Father and is the source from whence they came. In this sense, I seal and bless everyone here with the divine radiance, and I pray that here in Darjeeling, from whence I am speaking and directing the current of my mighty light rays, you may feel our reverence and the reverence of the brothers here for the will of God, and that you may come welcomely, joyously to our retreat while your physical form sleeps, and pray with the fratres and friars here who serve the eternally expanding will of the Infinite One, whom we call God. Peace this night, be still, abide in me, your own God presence, even as I am abiding in you. Beloved heart friends, children of the infinite God, whose capacities to appreciate the eternal beauty are expanded in accordance with your adoration to your own God presence, I greet you one and all with the infinite love of the eternal Father. I ask that the pulsations of the liberty flame be expanded throughout your nation and throughout this hemisphere. I ask that you, making yourselves a committee of one, will attune wherever possible with me daily in the adoration to your presence and the humble gratitude for all of the blessings which life has bestowed on you and will bestow on you as you make the necessary attunement to bring forth in your personal world all of the victory which God intends you to have and to share. I am privileged indeed to address you tonight. I am privileged indeed to bring you, by the power of divine radiation, a sense of the divine majesty. Most individuals today, until they develop a sense of beauty, may stand before the old masterpieces in the cultural centers of the world and perhaps wonder just what sort of old fogies we were, and they perhaps think in their first glances upon some of our works that they are not quite as wonderful as some of the other more perceptive individuals from among mankind say they are. And this is most understandable even to us, who possess in retrospect now the power of looking back upon our own work, and as we behold the radiance of heaven, we must express to you that indeed they are poor works of art from the standpoint of the divine realities. But nevertheless, they do convey, by the guiding hand of our own God presence and Holy Christ's self, as it then functions in accordance with our capacities at that hour, to bring forth the best that we could offer. And this is what we ask that you shall do. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot reach for the moon and draw the moon down to the earth, but you can take the luminosity of that august body and bring that luminosity and power down into your feeling world, and then produce balance in your feeling world. All of the gifts and graces of God are yours for sharing with one another. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line in the history of this earth and its evolutions, some from among mankind decided that they wanted to be exclusive possessors of all of the glory of God, and especially the material treasures of earth. They divided the parcels of ground. They have fought and argued and deprived one another of liberty, all for a paltry trifle. And yet, as free as the air they breathe, are the greatest blessings of life. The understanding of beauty, the joy in the face of a receiver of a gift. Have you ever observed the happiness in the face of a child when a gift for which that child has longed for is bestowed upon it? I know that some among mankind are prone to think that this generation is hard, but I examine their feeling world from inner levels, and I realize that people today are quite almost the same in their feeling worlds as they were in the days when I was Paul Veronese and in other previous embodiments. I realize also that there has come about in the feeling worlds of mankind a great shift and emphasis. Nevertheless, I would like to point out that while many of the souls presently upon this planet now are those who were here back in the days of the French Revolution and other eras, there are some on this planet at present who are very highly evolved beings, having been brought in for the seventh root race. You must understand, blessed ones, that all life streams are not the same, that the energies, temptations, and problems of individuals often differ, and therefore for mankind in their outer consciousness to make a proper judgment and assessment of another life stream is exceedingly difficult and ought not to be undertaken by the uninitiated or by those who are not especially trained and skillful in the manipulation of those energies and perceptions which ought to be brought about only by God guidance by ascended master instruction and by the power of their own holy Christ self when they are placed in a capacity of a psychiatrist or someone especially trained to analyze others. I am sure that the average individual today who will contritely fall upon their knees privately beside their bedside and looking up toward heaven, toward their own God presence, as they did when they were but a child, and shall say these simple words, "O God, help me," that the deity will respond to them just as effectively as though they were to make a long and arduous prayer, which in itself might be very flowery and very sincere, but nevertheless oftentimes unnecessary. For the deity does not expect mankind to be confined to a prison cell or a monk's cubicle in order to achieve emancipation. Emancipation often comes through simply making a call, knowing that that call will be answered. For it is in the faith and knowing that the cable to the higher heights of heaven is woven, and that the energies of a man's life stream, or a woman's life stream, or a child's life stream pour over that cable and magnetize the glory and attention of heaven and the love of the great Father of lights for the prodigal child. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen of God's own heart, the divine beauties are yours for the taking. They are yours for the asking. Beloved, Jesus declared, "Seek and ye shall find, ask and ye shall receive, knock and it shall be opened unto you." These truths are just as effective today as 2,000 years ago, when wandering the Judean hillside, he uttered them. And you have only to prove to yourself their effectiveness by making the call. I am aware that there are those who say, even among you, "But I have called, and I have called sincerely, beloved Paul, for this or that to manifest, and yet it has not manifested." Beloved ones, God tempers the wind to the shore and land, and therefore I am sure that there is some special reason why your particular request was not granted. Perhaps it was not wise on the part of your own God presence to bring to you the particular request which you asked for. And perhaps the greatest thing that ever happened in your world was that the presence withheld that particular manifestation from you. And then again, perhaps it was only a trial to test your faith. There are many reasons why a call goes unanswered. For truly the call does compel the answer, and in God's own way, the great karmic board, your own God presence, and your holy Christ self does truly answer every call, and none of them are ignored, where sincerity, application, devotion, love, and strength are put into them as the energy of God, returning by the great law of the circle to its source. This is the flame sent forth to manifest as light, which, loving its own source, seeks greater identification with its source, with the eternal fire, the sacred fire of the presence before the great throne. And this call going forth asks for more of the Father's love and essence, and therefore there is always a response. If the response does not manifest in your outer world, it is always placed, securely deposited within your causal body, for truly there are no unanswered calls. Ladies and gentlemen, then sometimes it is necessary that in addition to making the call to God, you should after all call your holy Christ self for the extraction of this great answer from your own causal body, for it is deposited there in the bank, and you must make the withdrawal. I hope that you understand the point that I am making. Sometimes you ask for a certain thing to be done, and it is done at the moment. It does not manifest, however, in your world. It manifests in the causal world, in the etheric world, but it must be drawn down and magnetized by you. Blessed ones, I know, for I recall one particular angelic figure which I worked on for 18 years, and I looked into the etheric realm in my memory, and I saw this cherubic face, and I struggled first to execute it in charcoal, and then I tried later to put it into oils, and there was great difficulty in putting it into charcoal, and I struggled and I erased, and I struggled and I erased, and I used media after media, and yet I could not capture on canvas that face which hauntingly stood before me in the etheric. And yet for 18 years I persisted, until at last I stood before it and knew that to the best of my ability this which was above was executed below. Patience, blessed ones, is a great virtue, and yet in this hour of peril I do not expect that you shall have patience in the world order of things. I expect that you shall have patience in your personal worlds, for your personal worlds ought to be subservient to the cause of the world good. For this has always been the fiat of our brotherhood, to give first to others and then to ourselves. Knowing the great law, we sought to magnetize for the world, for mankind, for others, the blessings of God, and we placed ourselves second in all cases. This is truly a precept of the brotherhood, and one which is often overlooked by the beginning Chela upon the path, who enters into a communion with the ascended masters almost solely for that which he or she expects to receive. But when the blessed Chela comes to realize that in kneeling before their own presence they ought to invoke for others the precious gifts of God as treasures of heaven brought to the earth for the relief and the release of the suffering of mankind, then there is a manifestation in their countenance of true beauty, and we who perceive the soul of man blooming in mankind's countenance are then able to behold the true face of a man or woman. And this is art divine. This is art which we appreciate. This is art which the angels magnify. This is art which the blessed Christ himself epitomized as he laid in the manger when the angelic hosts and the shepherds came in loving adoration, when Mary herself kneeled within her heart and said, "This is the Christ, the Son of God." This is the light that we desire to see manifest in every one of your faces and in the faces of all mankind, because it means a sublimation of a man's individual identity for the good of the whole, and the whole, by a divine recompense, returns in glorious magnification the beauty of the entire cosmos to that individual, until there emerges from the stiffness and the hardness of the marble the eternal perfection of life immortal. I thank you, and in the name of your own God presence bid you good night. Hail, blessed children of earth, in the name of God, I am. I, Michael, prince of the archangels, declare that the cosmic sword of blue flame is this day drawn and extended over this city and over the earth. I come today to defend the very faith of that Christ who has just spoken to you, and I come today to sustain and uphold it always. And I know that in your midst today, in your hearts, there are any number of you who are exceedingly zealous of the service that I have rendered mankind, and you often wish that you could be a part of my cosmic legions. And therefore I say to you today that those of you who truly desire to be a part of my cosmic legions will have an opportunity in the days ahead, in this sense, that if you will make the calls to your own holy Christ selves before you pass out of the body at night in sleep, I assure you that I have requested of the great karmic board that you shall be escorted, even by those who are of my legions, to join us in our service during these days of peril to the earth, and you will have the opportunity to serve us for 3 hours on each night that you volunteer. Blessed ones, this is a great opportunity of service to those of the student body who desire to sustain our efforts to defend and to uphold the faith of the Christ among mankind. Materialism and the powers of materialism in this age have run rampant, and the power of human greed and human error has caused the Christ image to actually be completely almost concealed from mankind, so that in their religious services they cease to recognize the power behind the host, behind the sacred bread, behind the Eucharist. They cease to recognize the true Christ image even behind the beautiful paintings that they have in their churches and cathedrals, and they cease to recognize in their fellow men the Christ image that beats and sustains the heart. It is this that we would restore. The forces of the communist world have today arrayed themselves as Gog and Magog against the Lord of hosts. They have arrayed themselves against the power of the light. They seek the destruction and the downfall of mankind, although they claim that they seek the construction of a communal world. The community which they would build is based upon atheism. It is based upon the power of shadow and darkness and concealment of the truth from mankind. It is based upon that which is not divine freedom. It is based upon that which is base and baseless. But, blessed ones, I tell you that Saint Germain, who is the God of freedom for this earth, and the beloved ascended Master Jesus Christ, are those to whom you owe your allegiance, that the forces of the democratic and free world shall stand forth victorious in this day and age. But I cannot truthfully tell you that among all the free world today there are hearts that are completely pure, for there are many among the free world so-called who in their own consciousness practice deceit, and this must be cut loose from them, and they must recognize the need to be consistent and true in the democratic principles and the principles of freedom. Men must love Christ with a true fervor and with true sincerity, and they must recognize the need to have truth. Long ago, when the Christ stood before Pilate, the call was made saying, "What is truth?" Blessed ones, truth stands revealed in the presence of the Christ, and the Christ is the light which lights every man, every child, every one that is born in the world, and sustains their light through every moment which they are conscious. Therefore, blessed ones, recognize the Christ image in mankind, and therefore you shall serve with me to defend the faith, to sustain the powers of light, and to keep the sword of blue flame active, cutting mankind free and freeing this world until the great white brotherhood can effectively disseminate through the educational channels of the world that knowledge which will cover the earth as a great sea of knowledge, and everyone shall know God as He is. They shall know their own I am presence as it really is, and they shall be free, and they shall no longer dwell in discord or dismay or unhappiness or pain, for God shall have wiped away every tear from their eyes, and therefore our cosmic service to cut mankind free shall be finished, and we shall joyously observe as mankind returns home and this particular phase of the great cosmic plan is completed and all life is enfolded in the beauties of the flame of God to ascend unto the great central sun with rejoicing, with happiness, with peace, and with light. I thank you, and I urge greater vigilance in the name of the ascended Jesus Christ. I urge greater use of the sword of blue flame. I urge greater use of the God powers bestowed upon you, and thus shall you stand with me to defend the faith. You shall be a part of my legions. You shall assist the earth to its cosmic victory. You shall glorify the name of the ascended Jesus Christ. You shall glorify the Spirit of the great white brotherhood. You shall bring rejoicing to all the hosts of heaven, and you yourself shall not lack in rejoicing as we do in the Son of God, in the strength of God, in the beauty of God, in the joy of wholeness, and in the light which enfolds you now as with a swaddling garment, to magnify in you, as Mary did of old, the great light of God, saying, My soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit does rejoice in God my Savior. Your own I am presence is your Savior. It is that which will exalt you through your holy Christ self into the glory and peace of your own ascension. Assist others, beloved ones, and thus shall this expand today out into the world of form, and God shall be glorified in you, even as he is glorified in me. I thank you. let us keep our attention upon our beloved Jesus as he begins to draw near into the atmosphere of this place. Let us hold our reverence and our attention on his light and love. Peace be unto you, O my dearly beloved ones, children of the Father. May the peace of God flow through you today, sweeping into your consciousness, even as a new broom, to sweep you clean from all that which has been in the past, which was not of the light, and bring to you the refreshment of the knowledge that you are a son of God, even as I am. I came in my ministry long ago to bring to the world peace and a greater understanding of the Father and the Father's love. I am certain that all of you understand perfectly that my mission has never failed. There are times when among you have a tendency to feel that the service and mission of your life stream has failed, and yet many of you have contacted more people in your day and brought their attention to the light than I contacted physically in my day as I moved among the people of Palestine and other parts of the world. Did I not declare, the things that I do shall ye do, and greater things shall ye do, because I go to my Father? Little ones, who are becoming great ones day by day, rejoice in the perfection of the Father and his great wisdom. Do not feel that you have failed in your mission simply because it does not contain the elements of the spectacular. Simply because men do not glorify you as they glorified me does not mean that you have failed. You are part of the sacred bread which came down from heaven. You are part of the body of God, even as I am. Mankind have a great desire to serve light, but they also have a desire to glamorize that which passes from the screen of light. And often while an avatar is dwelling among them, they tend to vilify and crucify that one in many subtle ways, not necessarily upon a cross, as was done unto me, but in many other ways that would be calculated to defeat the mission of that life stream. But blessed ones, the light of God never fails, the light of God never fails, the light of God never fails. And in the great light, in the great Akashic records, there is recorded the virtue of that which every life stream has ever performed. When you do good in my name, when you heal the sick, or raise the dead, or restore sanity to the mind of the insane, when you perform a service of peace in my name, I tell you of a truth. The great cosmic light records that act, and no one can remove from your record this treasure of heaven. This mark recorded in golden letters to your own life stream, an asset to your life, a precious chalice and trophy of cosmic achievement. It is not necessary that mankind should glamorize you. And I ask you, as you are practical people, how could it be in this day and age if all among mankind were to become Christ? that each one could be separately and individually glorified by mankind. It is the glory of God that is essential, and the recognition by your own mighty I Am presence that you have performed a service to the light is sufficient in itself. For this is the honor of your Father which is in heaven. And it was to Him that I dedicated the energies of my own life stream, and it was to Him that I stood approved and stand approved. The honor of mankind means nothing to me, for I have observed that while they honor me with their lips, and while they worship me with their lips, and their services and their ordered services, they despoil the children of men, and they smite their brother, and they exalt their outer consciousness, and they fail utterly in many cases to outpicture the Christ consciousness. And it is this that I desire of them, and it is this that I desired of Jerusalem when I wept over Jerusalem, and I said, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that stonest the prophets and killest them that are sent unto thee, how oft would I have gathered thee together, even as a chicken or a hen gathereth her little ones under her wings, and ye would not, oh, ye would not. And today I am still desiring that mankind shall recognize their responsibility to every part of life, and not just to those that may appeal to their outer sense consciousness. Within each life stream upon this planet there is a threefold flame. It breathes forth an eternal rainbow-like radiance in every one you meet, and some of the most ugly among mankind, who because of certain karmic conditions have achieved an ugly countenance, have within them a greater manifestation of the Christ than some of those most beauteous ones who actually are descended in some cases from those children born at the time the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men and chose them wives of them which were fair among the laggard evolutions. And so, blessed ones, it is not always to a beautiful outer consciousness or countenance that you should be dedicated, but to the inner man of the heart. The inner man of the heart, the pulsating threefold flame, is in every form among mankind. The most ugly, the most misshapen, the most twisted. They need your love even more than those beauteous ones among mankind, who often have a superabundance of love lavished upon them because of the attractiveness of their outer form and consciousness. O blessed ones, if the world is to breathe the freedom which I taught, and which I am constantly teaching at inner levels, they must recognize the responsibility they hold to the Father, to their own God presence, to the unfailing light itself. And they must not listen to the dissonant voices of their own outer personality. I am well aware that the selfhood of man is a garment which in itself clothes the holy flame of divinity. And I do not ask that you shall destroy that garment by pulling the threads of the garment out one by one until it is rent and tattered. But I ask rather that you transmute each tiny thread so that it does not manifest the eccentricities of the ego, but rather manifests the holy Christ flame. Let each thread be woven of love, and then you will have a wedding garment which will enable you to sit down together with the ascended masters at those cosmic feasts of light which we hold in our octave, those divine banquets which are a feast for the souls of men. You have heard it said that whither the carcass is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. And I am certain that in this activity of the Summit Lighthouse, as the body of God is recognized, and as the body of God is amplified, and as the eternal Christ substance is brought forth as the living bread from heaven, that it will draw those divine eagles from all parts of the earth who shall come together where the body is, until the world itself will acknowledge the perfection of God. All outer esoteric bodies of the great white brotherhood are created and established by the great brotherhood in order to glorify God. If they serve but to glorify the outer personality of individuals or to cater to their outer egos, they cannot help but fail to accomplish the cosmic purpose for which they came into being. And likewise, conversely, if they shall recognize the Christ image and shall exalt that image, it is impossible that they shall fail to draw and to attract those spiritual beings who love light more than they love self, who love truth more than they love error, who love immortality more than they love mortality, and who recognize that the changing outer form never can and never will sustain their life, but that the sustaining power of their life is in that great silver cord which pours down its radiance upon their head, beats and sustains their heart, makes them have the feeling of cosmic love and the desire to reach out and to be a healing Christ, to touch upon the head those lepers of human consciousness who are, by reason of their past karma, victims of circumstance and the misuse of energy, and to heal those individuals from their leprosy, their sin, and their disease and discomfort, and restore them to the state where God can rejoice because they have returned to the fold as the tiny lamb held in the arms of the shepherd, for which he forsook the 99 and went in search of. Therefore, blessed ones, if you will help me in my great cosmic search as I go out abroad daily among the fields of men, the great harvest fields, and seek to draw from among mankind those individuals who are specifically interested in serving this new age, then I ask that you shall continue to make calls for your own perfection and for the perfection of all life, so that this activity, and I refer here to the cosmic activity of the Great White Brotherhood, shall continue to expand and be efficient in drawing all mankind to the great power of light. As I said, if I be lifted up, I shall draw all men unto me, and therefore exalt the Christ, and the Christ within all men cannot help but expand, and as it expands it will move in the direction of this exalted Christ in your midst. This is the host of heaven, the cosmic light, the unfailing, unquenchable fire of the Holy Spirit, the triune power, the Trinity in the unity, the perfection for which you seek, and the glory which God would bestow upon every child that ever drew a breath upon this planet, those in body and those out of the body. Blessed ones, the hour of peril which presently faces the earth must be transmuted. It is a fiat of light that it be transmuted, but it requires an ordered service on your part and a faithfulness on the part of many throughout this earth. We of the ascended host cannot do it without we have your conscious efforts, and therefore we implore you once again to maintain and sustain the cosmic action of light and visualize it with great potency. Realize that the violet fire is tangible. Sense its tangibility. Sense the sacred fire. Realize that it is in the atmosphere of this room. And if you will gaze upon this tiny flame of the candle here, you will see that there is a beauteous flame behind the flame. And if you put out the outer flame, you cannot quench the inner flame, for it is the sacred fire. I thank you